Hi, this is Ken and Michelle Bass.
And you're listening to the Resilient Parenting Podcast.
Well, here we are once again with another episode on the way, and this is officially called the prologue to the episode, right?
Okay.
This is where I normally tell really bad dad jokes, but I just don't have it in me today. I don't feel like telling a dad joke.
It's okay. It's
Yeah?
okay. I
Yeah.
think, that's a gift that keeps on giving for our listeners. I'm just kidding.
Tell me how you really feel about it.
I really like your dad jokes, and I'm sure everyone appreciates them as well. But
Yeah.
Mother's Day is coming up, and I have some relatable momisms.
Oh, momisms.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So not dad jokes.
Okay.
But maybe some things, as I was looking at the list, these were some things that I was actually told and may or may not have shared with, with our
Okay.
children.
Okay.
So here's one. Don't sit too close to the TV. It'll ruin your eyes.
I remember hearing that,
Yeah.
but we had a very small TV. I had to get
It was black and white.
Yeah,
You got to watch those two channels. Just
it was
kidding.
3. Thank you.
Okay. The other one, it's not on here, but it reminded me of another one, which was like, if I cross my eyes, they'd say, don't cross your eyes. Your eyes will get stuck like that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
And it happened that way too.
Yes.
Until I knocked my head against something and straightened them back out.
Okay. That explains so much. I can always tell when you're lying.
You can?
That's a momism.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have eyes behind the back of my head. I've heard that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I could say, look at me, and I'll be able to tell if someone's lying.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because Ken will always like do a little tell on his face, and then I'll always
I cannot tell a lie.
know. Okay.
Convincingly.
Yes, convincingly. Here's a good one. Always wear clean underwear in case you get in an accident.
Well, what if you have an accident? Then the underwear's no longer clean?
Yeah, the chances of you having an accident, if you were in an accident, are pretty high. But at least you started out well. My mom, I think, also said, don't have any holes in your underwear. But same thing,
Don't have holy underwear?
Don't have holy underwear.
What does the Pope wear? I don't remember.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, sorry.
Go play outside. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Oh, I say that one.
Well, if you're going to go outside and play, you might as well take us along with you.
Yeah. Wait, well, okay. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because we were going to do the rest of the episode now, right?
Oh, I have momisms all day long. But you know what? I could see why Ken likes this because it's kind of fun. For me.
No. And hello there. We're chatting with Amanda Mills today of the IAEYC. Did I say it right? Did I say it right?
My
Nope.
goodness.
No,
What was that?
it was a massive
What?
vowel movement.
That was Ken.
Idaho Association for the Education of Young Children.
There, you got it.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of young children, clearly I'm still married to one.
Yeah. Well, Amanda, you've got this.
Yeah.
Okay, Amanda, I don't know what he's on this morning, but we're so glad to have you back to
Thank you.
to share with our listeners about something even cooler that's happening. And for those that maybe, I was going to say live under a rock, no, who don't know about you, can you give them a little update, like who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having me back again for, I believe, my third time. So, I am the Strengthening Families Specialist at Idaho AEYC. So, Idaho AEYC is a statewide nonprofit and really just works to support the people and the systems that support children and families across the state. And so, that can be through things like trainings, that can be resources, connections, all of that. And so, specifically, my work as the Strengthening Families specialist, I get to work directly with parents and caregivers. I get to work directly with educators, librarians, folks that work at family serving organizations. So, even things now like clinics, pediatricians, right? All of the people doing all the good work across the state to support children and families. So I'm excited to be here again.
Well, we're excited to have you. You always bring so much information, but also just enthusiasm, which is lovely.
And I cleverly included in my introduction, by the way, and I told Amanda that you've got this.
I know what
Yes.
you did. We all saw what you did. We saw what you did. We are proud of you.
But you've got this. This is 3 important words.
It is very important and good segue, Ken. You are bringing a a new program. Would you say program? Initiative?
Yeah.
An
Program
initiative?
initiative. Yeah.
Okay. And it's called You've Got This, which is a clever name, which we'll all remember now. Thank you, Ken.
No problem.
Yes.
Can you tell us about You've Got This?
Absolutely. So, you're absolutely right, Ken. You did such a great job with it because really the whole idea is strengths-based supports, right? So, when I do this work a lot, we talk a lot about, parenting is such a wonderful experience, right? Full of joy and all of these really good feeling things that happen along the way. But the reality is that parenting can be really, really stressful, right? And can be really difficult at times. But we really want to focus on the fact that parents are doing a really good job, right? And they're doing the best with what they have and what they've learned and what they know. And so it really is about you've got this. And it sort of came about when we started going to family serving organizations talking about our work. And we walked in with pamphlets and brochures and handouts and all these great things. And then we thought, well, you're never going to share all of these different things with your clients or your patients or whatever. And so we originally designed a booklet of all of our resources. And that's where we said we wanted to call it You've Got This, right? That you're doing a really good job as a parent. And we have resources to support that. And so from the professional lens of that, we've provided these resources at no cost to clinics, school districts, libraries, early childhood educators, right? Anyone who's working directly with families and children can request these resources from us. And so there's the You've Got This booklet, there's the Building Blocks for Success, which is sort of a kindergarten readiness resource, so sort of bridging that gap from early childhood to the school districts. And then we even have activity kits. We designed an activity book that has anything from coloring pages and word searches to journal prompts for parents, how to have a family meeting, coupons for fun activities as a family. So we're really just focusing on supporting, that strengthening families. A lot of my work is really grounded in those 5 protective factors of the Strengthening Families framework, right? And so supporting families around identifying and building those 5 protective factors.
For those that are new to the 5 protective factors, can you go through those just really quick?
Absolutely. I appreciate you stopping me. I kind of get up on I get talking, right? So when we talk about those protective factors, there's 5. Of course, we say that's not the only protective factors that exist, but really the 5 primary things that we focus on. Parental resilience, right? So do parents have the skills and the ability to overcome the challenges that inevitably come up as we're parenting? The second is social connections, right? I have people in my circle that I can rely on, whether that's friends, whether it's family, social groups, clubs, people at the gym, whatever that looks like for each of us. But I have someone I can turn to when I'm feeling stressed or overwhelmed or have questions. The third is knowledge of parenting and child development, right? So some things with parenting come naturally, right? And then as we all know, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we have to learn and figure out along the way. When I do parenting workshops, oftentimes I'll say, do you want to know the secret to parenting? And of course, people lean in, right? Yes, of course. What's the secret? And I say, none of us know what we're doing, right? And so there's things that we know, and then there's things we have to learn. And so, do I have some basic parenting strategies, a basic understanding of child development, knowing what my kids need to kind of to get through? Let's see. The fourth one is social and emotional competence. So, do I have the ability to manage my feelings and, have those interpersonal relationships? And then do I know how to support my children in also managing those big feelings and being able to navigate those relationships as they grow as well? And then the fifth is concrete support, right? Every one of us needs help from time to time. And there's really no one who's gotten to where they are without some help along the way. And so as a parent, do I know how and where to access the supports? And more importantly, do I have the ability to accept help when it's offered? I think that's a really important part to acknowledge in that idea of concrete support. So when we talk about those protective factors, it's really about we all have all five of those at different levels and at different times. And so can I focus on those five protective factors, continue building those protective factors, because inevitably that's going to reduce my stress as a parent. And then we talk about, that's prevention, right? That prevents me from becoming overwhelmed by stress. That's where we sort of go with that. So
Absolutely. I love that. So you've got this.
yes.
So you were talking about there's a side for professionals who are
Mm-hmm.
working with families.
Yes.
And then the other side is specific for those families that they're in they're there doing the work, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what are some examples of the program on either side? Like what are some things specifically that you're providing besides
Yeah.
what you already shared?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned that booklet of the You've Got This. And so in that booklet, there's information on anything from developmental milestones and early intervention, early literacy, even nutrition, strengthening families is in there. And so all of those pages have a QR code that takes you to our website where there's more information. So lots and lots of resources available in English and in Spanish that support all of those kind of moving pieces that sort of support us as parents. And so if I have questions about, maybe I have concerns about the way my child is developing, so I could go to the Idaho AEYC website, and there's information on there about those developmental milestones and resources around early intervention. So Act Early Idaho provides a whole lot of resources for parents and educators and professionals, but specific to parents around understanding those milestones and being able to sort of understand where my child could and should be, knowing that that's sort of a spectrum, all of that information. There's even things on there about financial literacy, right? One of the biggest, most stressful parts of parenting, right, is financial aspects of things. So there's resources and information on that. All of those things that are on our family resources page.
Wonderful.
Now, the fifth protective factor, can you repeat what that is again?
Definitely. It's concrete support.
And that means,
So knowing like how and where to access those resources. So anything from housing support, medical care, counseling. We know a lot about, mental health challenges that, are happening right now. And so knowing how to access those resources, and then resources around things like parenting, financial literacy, all of those kinds of things too.
So an example of a concrete support would be you've got this.
Yeah, look at that.
well, you mentioned also about people just being able to accept help or knowing that they need help,
Yes.
and that's one of the most difficult things, probably, right?
Yeah, and I think especially for, a lot of us were sort of raised on this idea of like, that pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Like you just have to figure it out and you just sort of have to handle it. And I think especially, I mean, I think there's a lot of pressures as a woman to be, the one who does all the things. And I think there's a lot of pressure for men who have been raised to think I can't have feelings or I can't feel sad or I have to be the man, the provider, right? So I think there's these really unique stress and pressures on both sides.
Hmm. I think also, what came to mind for me was also you think about social media and you think about people will share like the best moments in their life
Hmm.
most of the time. And so when you're looking at yourself as a parent, you're like, well, why don't I have it together? Why
Right.
don't I why are my kids like they seem like they're always like fighting or upset or I can't get this straight or I can't take a shower, like, all the things. I love the concept of you've got this because the reality is that I don't care who you are, we all struggle. At times we all have strengths, but
Yeah.
we also have challenges, and so social media can be a beautiful thing, but at the same time it can really be false in terms of
Yes.
what we're doing within our home, and what we see others doing, and we can have a false narrative of what's actually happening.
I agree. I think, and I think you nailed it too when you said there's a lot of really good stuff. I follow some really, really helpful things on social media that I take little bits that support me as
Mhm.
a parent. But I do a lot of reminding myself that a lot of what you see is the polished, perfect, right? And that's not the reality for most of us, right? And I say that too is, I do this for a living and I make mistakes all the time, right? And sometimes I lose it and I yell at my kids and I have to apologize and I have to ask for a redo. And, there really is something to be said for you've got this, right? You're doing a really good job. I maintain all the time that I don't think any parent wakes up in the morning and thinks, I'm going to see how I can screw this all up, right? And so, but we do what we know, we do what we've learned, whether that's good or bad, right? And I say all the time, I've really had to reparent myself right alongside my children, right? Recognizing the things that I've done that didn't work or the things that my parents did that were mistakes, right? Acknowledging that they are also human beings that were learning as they went and they were doing what their parents did. I mean, there's so many layers to that generational piece that come into just the day to day work of parenting, right? I texted my husband this morning and I was like, this kid, dot, 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 right? Like, it's hard.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that, if we could get past the smoke and mirrors and just the reality is that it's hard and you're not in it alone though. It may feel like you're
Yes.
alone, but there are resources out there. There are other people that are also struggling. And I know we have talked about some other resources, parent cafes, for instance. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. So, last year we were able to bring in Be Strong Families from the national organization and train people all across the state as parent cafe hosts. And so these parent cafes are happening all across the state. You can go to the Idaho AEYC website and find them happening. They're just getting started this year. And so parent cafes they're kind of hard to explain, right? But the idea is these are small group settings where parents come together with other parents and they get to speak as experts in their own experiences and their own families. And so I, as a parent, would come to a parent cafe where there are other parents there. They're sharing their stories and their experiences. I get to share my story and my experiences. It's not necessarily intended to be like, another parenting class like love and logic and some of those things. While those things are really, really great, I'm not saying they're not. The idea with a parent cafe is just to come together with other parents or caregivers and talk about parenting, right? And so it's about making those connections, removing that isolation. Many of us get, into the day to day of, right? I'm getting up, I'm doing the thing, I'm going to work, I'm taking kids to events or to classes or sports, and we've got parties on the weekends and I'm trying to maintain a household and whatever it is. And we don't have a lot of opportunity to get together with other parents and say, okay, here's what's going on in my life as a parent. Tell me about your experiences, Michelle. Have you been through something like this? And then you get to say, oh my gosh, right? Yes, here's my thing. And so we walk away not necessarily with answers, right? But that feeling of, okay, I'm not so alone in this, right? There's other people.
And you've got this.
Yes, and you've got
Clever,
this.
clever, clever.
You're not the only one that's clever in this family.
Something, something you were talking about, Amanda. I started thinking about how we did things in earlier years, how parents were in earlier years. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and as a parent now, you may be even talking to the kids, going, "Well, this is the way it happened back when I was a kid." And times have changed. Things are always changing. We learn. We need to learn new ways
Yeah.
of doing things, not be stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I have a colleague and she's got a teenager just like I do. And she said one of the things that she says to her daughter is, you know what? You're 13 for the first time. And guess what? I'm parenting a child that's 13 for the first time. And some of this we got to figure out together, right? And a 13-year-old right now is very different than a 13-year-old when I was 13, and certainly different from when my parents were 13, right? And so there's a lot to
Absolutely.
be learned and done differently.
Absolutely. You just made me think of like all the kinship, the amazing kinship providers that are out there that are, parenting, grandparents
Yes.
parenting their grandchildren or aunts and uncles, and just thinking about even that generational difference and just, recognizing, I love that, just recognizing that, we all have to adjust, and even with different kids. With our
Mm-hmm.
own kids, like every kid is different and our approach has to adjust and change. And then as we grow and as we learn more,
Yeah.
we also we're all evolving.
Mhm.
Look
Yeah.
at us.
Yeah.
Well, some of
I
us
know.
are.
I
I still have
joke
time to
that
evolve. Thank you.
I always joke that we had three kiddos, and then and boys, and then we had our youngest, who's a daughter. But we thought, well, we've done this three times, right? Like we know what we're doing. And then I say, and then we had Abernathy, and she's like a feral raccoon, and it's just like a whole new world all over again. I'm like, we thought we knew what we were doing, but here we are back at square one, right?
I love
Yeah.
that description so much.
And anyone who knows her knows that that's the truth.
I love it. Okay. So families or, professionals that are working with families, where can they get this information?
Yeah, everything is on our website. When you go to idahoaeyc.org, there is a tab that says Family Resources. On that tab, one of the drop downs says Events, and that's how you can find parent cafes. All of those family resources are right. You can't miss it. There's a big page that says You've Got This that has all of those resources. And then really exciting, new this year is our You've Got This from the Start. And so that is for anyone who has had or is having a baby that in 2026. And so if you had a baby in January, February, or maybe you're due in, July, or you're, whatever that looks like, you can sign up for You've Got This from the Start while we still have kits available. We have a set of materials that will get sent to you. So there's a baby doll, there's blocks, books, and balls, right? So kind of encompassing what you need for a new baby. Whether this is your first baby or your fourth baby, you can get these materials sent to you, and then you sort of get connected into that Idaho AEYC network. So you can access trainings right from the beginning on some of those things we already talked about: strengthening families, developmental milestones, crying baby plan, right? All of those things right when you have a new baby. The trainings themselves are only meant to be like 5 or 10 minutes, right? Realistically, if you've got a new baby, you're not going to sit down and spend more time than that anyways. And you'll get connected to our Ready for Kindergarten parent workshops, connected into that network of parent cafes, our quarterly Strengthening Families newsletter, all of the different resources and things that we have available to families. And again, I want to reiterate that all of this work that we're doing currently, there's no cost to parents or providers.
And this is across the entire state of Idaho.
Yes.
So regardless of where you're at in Idaho, you can reach out and get these supports.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. You guys are doing such good work.
You really have got this.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
How many times can you say that?
I'll give you been holding that one. Okay.
Biting my tongue.
Oh my goodness. Well, Amanda, thank you once again for sharing all of the information and resources. And we will definitely have all of this in the show notes so that it's just a quick click and you're there. But thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back again. I always enjoy it.
Always good to chat with you.
Yeah. Now we just have to, four is a charm.
Yeah.
All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
This podcast is brought to you by the Idaho Children's Trust Fund.